Okay, so we're beginning Chapter 5, which is all about decimals, and the first section is an introduction to them. I'm going to talk just about 3 out of the 6 topics in the section, which is understanding decimal notation very briefly, and then mostly we're going to spend time working on writing decimals as fractions, and we're also going to talk about comparing fractions. Comparing decimals. So let's look at how to understand decimal notation. So this number here is written in each of the columns, and the decimal point is here. To the right of the decimal point we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, and so on. And to the left we have these numbers, tens, hundreds, thousands, instead of thousandths. So each of these stands for a tens place. This is going to be times 1, times 10, times 100. This one is divided by 10, divided by 100, divided by 1,000. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at doing next. Okay, so to write a decimal as a mixed number or a fraction, these are the steps you want to follow. So you can take a moment, pause the video, and read those. I'm not going to read them to you. So now we're going to try the problems. The first one is 3.025, and we need to write it as a fraction. So the part that is on the left, the 3, is just going to be a 3. So what we're really looking at is the 0.025, this part right here. And the thing that we want to look at to see what goes on the bottom of the denominator is the last number, and that is in the thousandths place. That means that this number is 25 thousandths. So we've got 3 and 25 thousandths. So the nice thing about 25s and 5s and 50s is they all go into anything that's going to be on the bottom, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. So we can reduce this pretty simply. So we're going to say 3, and how many 25s are in 25? We've got 1. And how many 25s are in 1,000? We've got 40. Okay, so this reduces to 3 and 1/40. Okay, so this next part is negative 19.48, and we want to look at the 8 because it's the last decimal place, and that is in the hundredths place. So we're going to write negative 19 and 48 100ths. Okay, so now we need to reduce that. Both 48 and 100 are divisible by 4, so we're going to divide this by 4, and we get 12. And we're going to divide 100 by 4, and we get 25. Okay, so this is going to be negative 19 and 12/25. C is 0.78. Again, we want to look at the last decimal place, and that is in the hundredths place. So we're going to get 78 100ths, and it was 0.78, so we don't put anything in front of it. So both of these have the highest common factor. The greatest common factor is 2, actually. So we divide that by 2, and we get 39. Divide this by 2, and we get 50. So we get 0.78 is 39/50ths. Okay, now it is time for you to try it. So I'm going to let you just pause the video here and give it a shot. Remember, you don't learn math by watching. You need to try it. So give these a shot and see if you can do them. Okay, so here are the answers for you. Take a look at these. Make sure you understand how to reduce each of these. So the 18 and 22 100ths, the top and bottom were divisible by 2, so that reduced to 11/50ths. 25 over 100, 25 is a fourth of 100, so it's a fourth. But you can see that 25 goes into 25 once and into 100 4 times. 15 100ths reduces to 3 over 20. So 15 is divisible by 5, and so is 100. Okay, so this next one is comparing decimals, and the instructions are there. I'm not going to read them to you, so you can pause the video and read that if you'd like. So basically all you need to do is you compare every decimal place starting from the left. So we've got 31. So make sure those are the same or you stop there. Beyond that, we're going to look at each decimal place individually. So these can be tricky because sometimes they cut them off and it makes it look bigger, but it's not. So 6 is the next number. And then, let's see, I'll use a new color. We've got 7 is the next number, and that was an 8. So that means that one's bigger. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing for these next few. We've got 7 and 7, 4 and 4, 5 and 5. And then this is what I was talking about. 6 is next. This one has nothing. There's nothing here, which means it's a 0. So the 6 is bigger. All right, now be careful with negatives because a smaller number means a smaller absolute value means a bigger number. It's closer to 0. So these are going to be backwards of what you expect. So there's 52 and then 7 and then an 8 and then a 9 here. And then the last digit, I'm going to just highlight it actually. The last digit is going to be a 9 and a 3. So the 9 is a bigger number, but it's more negative. So remember, you're looking for the bigger value. It's closer to 0. It's farther to the right on the number line. So make sure you're careful with those negatives. Okay, so now it's your turn. Pause the video and try to get these correct. And make sure you take a moment to think about each one. Okay, here are the solutions to those. Make sure you take a moment to check and see if you got it wrong, if you can figure out why. Okay, that was the end of this video. We'll see you in the next one.